Alright, so this is the coding walkthrough video for prototype 0.6. Now this is going to be quite a short video because not a massive amount has been changed between this prototype and prototype 0.5. This prototype is basically just a refinement of the first orbital system that we introduced in prototype 0.5. Prototype 0.7, which is the one after this one, will have a lot of changes in it, including a revamp of the orbital system as well as hopefully a gliding system. But I'll go through that in the next video. So what I'll do now is just quickly take you through the changes that have been made for this prototype and what they've done to the gameplay, basically. So we have in this prototype, as you can see, the first orbital system, and the player basically gets slingshot around, yeah, etc, etc. It's a very, very rough prototype, and this orbital system has been superseded by prototype 0.7's one. But again, I'll go through that one in its own video. So the main difference between this and the last week's prototype is the jumping. With last week's prototype, what I did was unlocked the jumping limitations here. So yeah, if we basically go here, what it means is if the player is in contact with the platform, then can jump is true, and if they're not in contact with it, then can jump is false. I've been through this anyway in previous prototypes. What that essentially means is the player can only jump once after leaving the ground. They can only move upwards once. Now, last prototype I got rid of that function because if we go here, while come on, go. That's just a bug at the beginning bit there. It's supposed to do this. Go up to it and it just starts rotating. So there's no way for the player to go up and so be able to glide away, which is the point of the orbital prototype. Orbital mechanic, rather. So in order to combat that, I basically disabled the jumping limit so the player could just go upwards. So with this prototype, I've re-enabled the jumping limit and given the player their own... God, I'm trying to get out of the orbit. And given the player their own ability when they're within the collider of this to move upwards, but only when they're within the collider of this. Literally let me out. Oh my god, anyway. So, basically, the player's just able to jump up, and then glide away. Like so. But if you look here, they are not able to do that here. Just when they're within the collider of the building, essentially. So that's the biggest difference that's been added to this prototype. And I did that through editing the disable orbital script here. And what I basically did was if the player presses space and can orbit is true, and can orbit is true when the player enters the trigger collider of, where is it? Of that here. If they enter the sphere collider there, basically, then can orbit is true. If they exit and can orbit is false. If that's true, if they press in space and can orbit is true, then they can go up really quickly. Essentially, it just translates them in an upward direction. It's a pretty simple change, but it's a refinement of this orbit system that allows them to go upwards and then use that orbit to slingshot themselves around. So yeah, as I've said, there hasn't been many changes for this prototype. It's mainly just a refinement of that mechanic. This orbital system, as you can see, is quite janky, and it's mainly proof of concept more than anything else. In the next prototype, I've significantly revamped the orbit system, which I'll go through, and I'm in the process right now of making a new gliding system. So I'll go through that in the next one. I've just made prototype 6 a separate prototype 0.6 rather, a separate one, because, yeah, just to kind of close the door and mark off this orbital system. There's a bit of a kind of, a jumping point. So yeah, I'll go through that in the next video. And that's the end of this one.